Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure for me to be here. It has been some great days, and hopefully this day will also be as great as the other ones. My daughters are 4 and 5 years old, so I had to do all my translation on my own. I'm currently working at the Norwegian Institute for Bioeconomic Research, but this speech will be about lessons I have learned from working with large carnivore management in Norway for the last 17 years in various administrative levels. All years I have been working close to stakeholders, especially sheep farmers and Sami reindeer herders in Norway. So this talk is not based on science, it's based rather on working with stakeholders in Norway for 17 years. Well, in 2004, the Norwegian Parliament agreed on a new policy for Norwegian large carnivore management. The goal was to ensure sustainable management of large carnivores, but also to include considerations to agricultural interests and other society interests. The agreement also implies very precise objectives for relative population size of the different species. Norway was divided into 8 regions, and the population goal was set as a precise number of yearly reproductions of each species and each region. And the main reason for stating precise objectives was that the presence of predators should be predictable for those who had free-ranging sheep and reindeer, and thus reduce the level of conflict. As an example, we can see that region 7, Nordland, and the management goal is for Nordland 10 yearly reproductions of lynx, 10 yearly reproductions of bull rhine, and 1 yearly reproduction of brown bear. In the years preceding 2004, the conflict was strongly affected by government and local citizens' diverging assessments of the population size. The locals and stakeholders had the classic skepticism about science and believed that the administration underestimated or kept the real estimates hidden. And many also thought that the administration did not take into account the experience-based knowledge that locals had. Therefore, the Norwegian Parliament became very concerned that the various stakeholder interests should be involved in the population monitoring and that local knowledge should be utilized through this work. So, if we were to reduce these types of conflicts and misunderstandings, it was imperative that we could create a common knowledge and understanding of population sizes that are shared between stakeholders. Everybody should know how we are monitoring the populations, why we use the methods we use, what results we provide, and where to get information about population sizes. In order to create this unity in the national monitoring system or national monitoring program, transparency about methods and the basis of the data is of pivotal importance. And consequently, fieldwork and verifications in the monitoring program were added to the Norwegian Nature Inspectorate as a neutral and unbiased actor. So the Norwegian Nature Inspectorate, or the SNO as we call it in Norway, is responsible for retrieving data in fields and quality assuring data from the public. SNO has a network of full-time and part-time field workers spread across the country, and I think we have about 280 to 300 people spread around the country. And they can be relayed at relatively short notice. SNO is neutral in all decision-making. And in order to ensure that data is always trusted, they set as a rule that a third party should always be able to access the data and come to the same conclusion as SNO. And I think it's worth to mention that the part-time workers are recruited locally and have great local legitimacy. They are in different ways stakeholders. They are farmers, they are reindeer herders, they are members of organizations, local politicians, etc. In other words, they are locals with other prominent roles in the community, paid by SNO to do field work. In all methodology, we have a two-step verification on field data. That means that all data is quality assured by a regional administrator who makes a final conclusion or final decision. And therefore, precise methods and clear instructions allow all field work to be done with the same quality, regardless of who does it and where the observation is. And all data has been and will be entered into a common database, rovbase. All data on large carnivores that are of importance for the monitoring program or the management will be punched and available in rovbase. And rovbase has also a web solution that provides fully open access to data, www.rovbase.no. Well, sensitive data, as for instance wolverine dens, will be hidden for the public, but for those who are interested, we can provide data and photos that document our conclusions. So this is rovbase. Well, getting an understanding of the methodology is one thing. To involve stakeholders is something else. All species have species-specific methods of monitoring. And as you already know, annual reproductions are the management goal and also the objective for the monitoring program. And for lynx, wolverine, and wolf, this is quite okay to do during winter time because of the snow cover. And for instance, tracks of a lynx following another lynx in winter time is usually a mother with cubs. For wolverine and wolf DNA technology is also used as a supplement for tracking on snow. The bear, however, is a bit more challenging, as females with cubs will stay in the den in the wintertime and often, or most often, come out of the den after the snow cover has melted away. So this prevents tracking on snow as a method. Therefore, for bear, DNA is used as a method alone. Samples of feces or hair are collected, and the number of annual reproductions are calculated based on that. And I will say that DNA technology as a method has greatly contributed to reduced conflict. And the reason for that is that everybody, or at least almost everybody, believes in DNA, and that people can follow the individuals from year to year. And anyone who finds feces or hair of bear, wolf, or wolverine can collect it and deliver it to SNO. So this makes it possible for stakeholder involvement. SNO will ensure that the samples are punched in the databases and are submitted for analysis. We also want stakeholders to report other surveillance-relevant observations of the different species, as for instance, family groups of lynx. But for the sake of quality assurance and the ability for a third party to enter data, such observations will always be verified in field before they become a part of the data the population estimates will be based on. Large carnivore monitoring in Norway and Scandinavia, I think, is among the best monitoring programs in the world. We have detailed information on an individual level for almost all populations. Each year, the Norwegian government uses about 30 to 40 million Norwegian kroner, or about 3 to 4 million euros, in the monitoring program. Despite this, the level of knowledge would not have been possible without effort from the locals and the stakeholders. Very much of the data the population estimates is based on are reported from stakeholders as hunters, farmers, locals, Sami reindeer herders, sheep farmers, or hikers. And to give you an idea of what we are talking about, I can say that about 95% of all lynx reproductions, 20% of DNA samples from wolverine and wolf, 50% of DNA samples from brown bear, and about 80% of tracks and sightings of wolves are reported from locals and stakeholders. And in addition to this, several thousand observations that are not relevant for the monitoring program and consequently not verified are reported in what we call scanned OBS. Not all observations are relevant for the monitoring program. However, for the observer, the observation is important, and the observer wants it to be taken into consideration. To accommodate this, we have developed ScannedOBS, www.scannedobs.no. And on this website, which also has an application for iPhones or smartphones, you can register your own observation of large carnivores. And the observations that are interesting for the monitoring of large carnivores will automatically be forwarded to the SNO. So I will say that Norway has in many ways been successful in creating a common knowledge platform about population sizes. And the conflicts due to diverging assessments of the population size has been greatly reduced. I would say that in most of the few conflicts we have, there is a misunderstanding about what the objectives of the monitoring program is. And I will point out some factors that I think are crucial for the success. And first of all, the transparency in methods, instructions, and reports are crucial. Everybody knows what we're doing, why we are doing, and they can read all the reports. We have available data on the Rovbase. Everybody can follow their contribution or other people's contribution in the monitoring program. And I will also point out the skilled field workers that SNO has that communicates well and neutrally about the monitoring program. That is a very, very, very important. When you meet people, make them understand what we are doing and why we are doing it. And, of course, that everyone can contribute. Nevertheless, it is seen that the level of conflict between the administration and the various stakeholders is relatively constant. However, the conflict has shifted. And I would say that the relatively low but very precise population objectives in themselves has become one of the biggest sources of political conflict, as one too many or one too little in the eyes of various stakeholders and politicians is a major deviation from the goal. Although the losses of sheep and reindeer have been reduced in the recent years, there are still many conflicts. And this gets a big political focus, and there are strong emotions on both sides of the conflict. Based on that, my experience is that when large carnivore populations diverge from the population goal, this again leads to a debate about the use of means to reach the target goal, up or down. And a big challenge now is to get an understanding that it is biologically impossible to be on the exact goal at all times, and that there is no quick fix to reach the goals. I think that if the goal has been some sort of an interval, we might have had less conflicts and we could use the resources more efficiently and in other areas of conflict management. So again, everything is available and everybody can contribute. And I think that summarizes my talk in a good way. So I will say thank you very much for listening to me. There are some websites here that might be interesting for some of you. Unfortunately, one of them is only in Norwegian. I would love to demonstrate them, so don't hesitate to contact me afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much.